Hello everyone, I'm Miguelito LaMorté, and welcome to Persona, the show for and about inspired people. Our special guest today is the founder of Citizens for Restoring USA, a former model, a polo player, and a Donald Trump surrogate. Robert Kiger is his name, and Robert, thanks for joining us.
Hey Michael, nice to be with you.
Yes, pleasure. So, Trump is our president, and it was your prediction, first on Fox, then on CNN. You were the first surrogate out of the gate to predict that it would be a hands-down win. So roll back a little bit, and tell me how you got to start the Citizens for Restoration of USA.
It was kind of an epiphany because I was literally driving down the road one day, and I had been complaining a lot about the state of the country, and I really thought that it was time for me to quit complaining and try to do something about it. So while I'm driving down the road, I'm calling GoDaddy to get a domain for Citizens for Restoring USA. Thought up the name going down the road. I got it. I got everything filed with the Federal Elections Commission, right. And then the Washington Post picked it up on April the 22nd, 2015, right. About the PAC, the Political Action Committee, and then on the day that Donald Trump announced that he was going to run for president, I was on Fox News, and I told them that he would be the next Republican nominee and he'd be the next president of the United States. Wow. And you can imagine they kind of laughed at me because he was polling at 1% at the time, but I knew that the way the country, you know, the mindset of the folks in the country, they were needing something new. And a business guy is I've always wanted to see a business guy in the White House just to see what would happen, because all these other Republicans and Democrats, it doesn't make any difference. They're just bought and sold. Right. I just want somebody that wants to make the right choice.
Right. So, I mean, with your devotion to your prediction here, obviously came a lot of tornadoes, a lot of hailstorms coming at you, because virtually all the networks, right or left, were kind of like laughing under their breath the whole time, or right. Just being presumptuous about things. But meanwhile, like, you had people like Mike Savage or Joe Pags, and everybody was pretty much convinced that he was going to be the nominee. And I mean, do you think that obviously you had to be very inspired to it takes a lot of, balls to get up there and do that. But I mean, it was, for then the next year is a lot of resistance, Yeah,
there wasn't really anybody that thought that he had a chance until around December of 2015. Because I know I went to a political conference in October out in Los Angeles and talked to a lot of I'm not even going to say their names, because I sat around at the table and they're like, right. He's not going to win. He can't win. There's no way he's right. going to win. Are you crazy? And I just really in my heart, and he kept pumping up in the polls every single day.
Every time he would just say something completely out of control. To give you a very good example, when he made the comment about John McCain not being a war hero. Now, would I have said that? No, I wouldn't have said that. But I told Neil Cavuto, they always had me back every time he made some stupid remark, so I was on a lot. Right.
I shouldn't say stupid remark. When he said a remark that was offensive to some folks, right. They had me back on. But if it rips the scab off a wound to make a point that the veterans in this country are being treated poorly, right. Then so be it,
Sure.
I mean, like I told Neil Cavuto, we got to cowboy up and quit being so PC in this country, because it's killing us.
Right. No, I know. I mean, I agree with that 100%, because I think that we've kind of made a breeding ground for a lot of, just BS that, these people can just kind of hide under and just keep right. going under the PC moniker. But So I mean, so once all this was rolling, you're like, you know, and the debates started happening. Now you're on Fox News, you're on CNN. I mean, then how, now that he's elected, how has it left the PAC, or how has it left Citizens, you know, for Restoring USA? Or I mean, what is it? Did you guys just kind of like dissipate, or you go like?
Well, it's still. I to be honest with you, I'm lobbying for a job in the administration. But yeah, I mean, it's still viable and still going. I think that I've got a couple of causes in the back of my mind that I want to try to do something with. I pretty much self-funded the PAC myself, and we produced about 120 films and ads and so on and so forth in support of Donald Trump.
Right, which probably had more of an impact than even say like, you know, like the Mike Savages, and well, even though they're nationally syndicated or even globally, but I mean, your videos were up in millions and millions and millions of views, right? Like,
yeah, it was interesting, but I mean, just the power of social media. It was like we have 43,000 followers on Facebook, and one video would get 3-4 million views because it continually gets shared by other people.
Before we go any further with that, on the Trump tip, roll back. You were a model. You're a polo player. You've owned some of the most exclusive fashion boutiques in and around South Florida. How did you become a model?
It's proof positive that even ugly people can get in the print business.
Right.
It was I had a polo barn and a polo field in Denver, and they wanted to come out and shoot a commercial out on my place and use the horses as a backdrop, use me as a backdrop. You know, a couple of the polo players as a backdrop. And so the lady that it was a face commercial, cosmetic commercial.
Gotcha.
The lady, Donna Baldwin, delightful lady, hired the girls that were in the commercial, and she came out one afternoon while we were shooting, and she said, "Have you ever modeled?" And I said, "No, I haven't modeled." She goes, "I want to sign you." So she did, and it was a great thing for me because I had another business at the time, and it was something that you could go off and do and be like another person, and you know, for a while you were somebody else for 4 hours or whatever. So it was a great deterrent from your day-to-day job, if you will.
Right.
And I had a insurance brokerage at that time, and then I went on and I sold it and bought a telecom company out of bankruptcy in Denver, opened up a retail store in Denver, a men's store, and then I sold the telecom company and moved down here. I actually moved to California and had a mortgage brokerage for about 5 years.
So you were like
until the mortgage industry went bad. And then I moved back to South Florida, which I love. I came down here originally to play polo, and I opened up 2 clothing stores, had Ralph Lauren and
La Martina
and Visconti, and a lot of really, the whole concept was trying to be what Neiman Marcus used to be back in the old days, where you walked in and they had all these very, very unique kind of brands that you wouldn't see anywhere else.
Right. Especially brands like La Martina, which there's only a couple boutiques in the States, or there were at that time.
Right.
I mean, just so our guests know, I work for La Martina. Robert helped get me the job at La Martina. That's what kind of clout he has. But so with Polo Elegante, though, I mean, you had a good run for a while,
right?
And then probably right about the time you started citizens, you kind of, what did you throw in the towel with that, or how did that?
Well, just economics.
Right.
The landlord wanted me to sign another 5-year deal and wanted to raise the rent.
Right.
And raising the rent was a killer. And here's how silly they can be is that they, I said, okay, well, we'll just go month to month, right? And if you find somebody that'll sign a 5-year deal, well, give me 30 days and I'll move out. And I was like, no, thanks.
No,
and the place stayed empty for like a year. So
right. That's
I guess I don't know. I don't know how that works. Anyway.
Right. Wow. So now you're lobbying for something in the White House, or at least working for the administration. And I mean, is there anything that you applied or pulled out of from being a model or being involved with fashion that you applied to say your work for this campaign or work for citizens in that way? I mean, was there anything that?
I think the modeling thing, helped me a little bit with because I did a little bit of commercial stuff too.
Right.
Commercials, and I think it helped me a little bit on camera.
On camera with
not to be nervous or whatever. And when you're on CNN, Fox News not quite so bad, but when you're on CNN, they'll put 3 Democrat hit guys plus the person asking the question is against you too.
Right.
So it can be, you gotta have
You're like swinging it every
you gotta have your hair up,
Right. Yeah, no, I imagine that would be a hard position because, I guess Fox isn't as bad as that, but I mean CNN, they definitely pit everybody. It'll be 3-on-1 most all the.
But
shows
even Fox, and it's their job, they need to push you, they need to test you. I know I was on Neil Cavuto quite a little bit, and he, punched me, about the McCain thing and the Megyn Kelly thing, and so on and so forth. But I was very disappointed in that first debate because I thought those commentators were really out to get Trump. I mean, that first, of all the questions in all the universe, the first question Megyn Kelly asked Donald Trump is, why are you calling Rosie O'Donnell fat? And
right.
You've called this one a cow and this one a pig. And only Rosie O'Donnell, he says.
Right.
So,
right. No, clearly Trump is he's an entertainer. So he's a television personality, and that definitely, he's not going to shake that kind of persona, for lack of a better term,
right.
like that he has there. What now with him in his first 100 days here? Granted, it's been like a bloodbath out there lately, like with everything that's going on, but it seems like in the same way it was in the campaign, it's like you lift up one rock, and then there's something better under another rock,
right.
and so it's kind of a push-pull going with his administration so far. Do you think it'll end by this time?
No, I really don't. I think, it's going to go on like this for 4 years. I mean, they're not, he wasn't in office 2 days, and Nancy Pelosi was calling for his impeachment.
Right. Right.
I mean, come on. They even Joe Biden said yesterday, he said, we need to give this guy a chance. And they're not going to give him a chance. Right. They're going to hit him every time, every which way but loose.
Sure.
And the health care thing's a bit of a debacle. But the Republicans continually eat their own. If I can tell them anything, it's like, why don't you take a page out of the Democratic playbook? You don't see those guys going on TV and disparaging one another.
No.
They just don't.
Right. That's true. That's very true. Yeah.
And these they're just, they're not behind the president, a lot of them,
Right.
and they need to.
Well, I think that they also have their own egos. I mean, in just my own world of formulation of political right versus left things, it seems like the Republicans were always well organized, but very egotistical. So it was like amongst themselves, you can't. If there's even a minute factor of disagreement, they're punching each other out. Whereas the Democrats seem to be unified in whatever highway they're on at that time, but they're not always good at sweeping things under the rug. Yeah. You know, the Republicans tend to have a little more savvy, maybe, I don't know what it could be, you know, just a little more eloquent way of speaking and deflecting criticism. But what really bites them in the butt is the fact that they're going at each other half the time. Yeah. I mean, now I've seen more Democrats coming on, kind of siding with Trump now, or kind of saying like what you said, like give the guy a break, you know, like. And then I have seen Republicans, you know, saying like, okay, he's our president, he's our party, right. He's the leader of our party. Right. What, you know, and it seems like it's I've never seen anything like this before in my lifetime at least. You know? Well,
the healthcare thing's a very good example.
Right.
You know, he wants this health care bill. And he finally said, you know, this morning said, look, this is it. You guys are either going to pass this or you're going to own Obamacare. That's right. You make your choice. And you've been on TV for the last 8 years going, we need to repeal and replace Obamacare. And they won elections over that, okay?
Right.
Time and time and time again. And now they get in there and they have an opportunity to do it. And it's a very, very complex thing. I don't even know if it's a good thing to replace it. I think it's a better thing maybe to repair what's there.
Right. I mean, in regards to health insurance, I mean, I think a lot of it too is people's economic and what they spend their money on, and whether healthcare is a priority, you know, sure. over say an iPhone or something like that. Like,
do you think if you're 28 years old and you can spend $600 on an iPhone rather than or spend $600 on health insurance, what are you going to do?
Yeah, you're not going to spend it. Yeah. Like, you're not going to spend it at all.
You know, you're 28 years old, you're healthy, you're not thinking about anything down the road.
What do you think that the behavior of this administration and them is kind of hindering or helping the morale of, say, like the kind of lower middle class across the country? Because a lot of people get excited and they're really rooting for Trump when he's kind of kicking over tables and tweeting crazy stuff. Mm-hmm. But then, I mean, you think that's healthier? Because, I mean, then you got all these other people that really, they maybe didn't vote for Trump. But does it seem like it's too much cowboy kicking going on, or you think is that maybe what we needed right now?
I think it's what we needed. You know, I'm not a big fan of Twitter.
Right.
For the life of me, I'm not sure why anyone spends a lot of time on Twitter.
Right.
But having said that, Donald Trump has, I think, 38 million Twitter followers, maybe 40. And he can bypass the media and just go right to those 30 or 40 million people that quick.
Right, but he also has no filter. He
has no filter.
I mean, which is, I guess in some ways, that's even a freer form of expression than anything.
And in a way, I think people are appreciative of that because it's honest. It may not be what you want to hear, and it may not be the way you would have said it or I would have said it, but it's real, it's hard-hitting, and they get the point.
Right.
It might not be very nice, but and sometimes it may not be very nice, but.
Do you think that I mean, or do you think that other countries are going to start viewing America as just like a bunch of animals in a certain period in time, especially say countries like Taiwan, Korea, Southeast Asian countries where, I mean, any kind of muscle flexing, you know, kind of.
Oh, those countries where they flog you to death for spitting on the sidewalk? Those...
Well, no, there's not spitting in China, but I mean, no, but I'm just saying that there's a kind of a perception of.
I understand.
I mean, I remember traveling in Taiwan. I mean, I've spent a lot of time over there, and where people would ask me, they'd say, "Well, we heard there's no dancing allowed in New York," and sure
Really?
enough, there was a law in New York that was. Certain establishments, dancing was not allowed. It was some law
Really?
from way back in, you know, like the Prohibition days or something. Yeah. But it was, you know, without a certain type of license or without greasing the mafia, there was no dancing. But even though people would dance every night, but that's what, you know, in Taiwan, well, in New York, there's no dancing, you know, like, and I'm like, well, I don't know about that, but you know what I mean? Because it can, the perception can get watered down, kind of like a, you know, like through the media and through whatever else, and it's, well, especially if, but I guess if Trump's going straight out on Twitter, then I guess they're going to form whatever opinion they're going to form.
Sure, I tell you, who has become an ally and a friend of the United States again, and that's Israel.
Right.
Because I think it's very terrible the way that they've been treated in the last 8 years. Benjamin Netanyahu is an amazing leader.
Right.
And if you ever want to watch a real leader, watch the address that he gave to the joint session of Congress.
Right, I saw
when
that.
he came. Did you see it?
Yeah.
It was amazing speech.
Yeah,
hard
he's
hitting.
Very diplomatic and very hard hitting. I mean, he's obviously has years and years and years, a whole lifetime of experience, which I guess, I don't know if people are nervous that Trump is going to be a little more kooky about like the way he's presenting things, but you know, will remain to be seen. So what is next for you, aside from
let me just add one more thing to that. In the short time that he's been president of the United States, I mean, I don't think anybody has gotten as much done in as short a period. The guy sleeps 3, maybe 4 hours a night. His hair's on fire. He's going full steam ahead.
Right.
I bet the people that work around him are just exhausted.
I'm sure they are.
Because I mean, I don't know how the guy keeps going the way he goes.
Right.
And so in the tablet of time, after the 4 years are finished up, I think we'll see a country that is totally turned around. I say that Barack Obama is the most successful president that we've ever had because he fundamentally set out to change America.
Right.
And he did. Problem for me is I think he was changing it in the wrong direction.
Right.
So there's got to be. Listen, I brought you a gift. Now, my suggestion is that you don't wear this to LA for your next filming event.
Okay.
Because you might get thrown out.
But driving a Prius, right?
Yeah.
Driving a Trump 2016.
Yeah.
You got it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm so thankful that you joined us here on Persona and the show. Everybody, Robert Kiger. Check out Citizens for Restoring USA online, tons of videos, and on Facebook. You can check Persona out on our YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter at Miguelito Mundo. And for all of us at Persona, and Robert, thank you.
Miguelito.
Yes.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.